This is Gateway City Sports.
It's a trap!
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
This is the Team of Rivals podcast.
Everything you want to hear from the big sports to the big screen.
He's all by himself, fires into the end zone. Caught! Touchdown! No! Vaughn into the windup in his first offering. Just a bit outside. He tried the corner and missed.
He doesn't like you. I don't like you either.
Time winding down. Michael for three. Yes! She is gone! I don't believe what I just saw. Go crazy, folks! Go crazy! You believe in miracles?
You may fire when ready.
What?
Good evening, Cubs and Cardinals fans. It's Thursday, January 27th, and this is the Team of Rivals podcast, proud members of the Gateway City Sports Network. Great podcast and blog content. You can follow us online at teamofrivalspodcast.com, and we're on Instagram, Facebook, and Rumble at Team of Rivals Podcast. You can also follow us on Twitter and Getter at Team of Rivals Pod. And for those of you watching us live, hit the like and subscribe buttons, and be sure to ring that bell on YouTube and Rumble so that you receive notifications anytime we post new content. Look, yes, we're going to talk about Boba Fett, but we're not going to talk about it tonight. We've got some hard outs, and we realize that that's a very niche area. So Sunday, we're getting together. We're going to create some content for you on Sunday, and it's going to be Star Wars exclusive. So those of you who tune in for the sports, worry not. You're pretty hearts. We're going to be relatively focused tonight. And also, man, I'm going to go right for it, guys, and I'm going to get us our explicit rating right now. Fuck this fucking day. Actually, fuck this whole fucking month. Anyway, joining me for tonight's show, co-founder of Team of Rivals and number 104 in the 2021 edition of the Top Cards on Twitter, Ron Nuttall, and back on just in time, dealing with technical difficulties, permanent occasional guest host, definitely bucking for the temporary occasional guest host, Elliott Dewey. Gentlemen, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I just got to set up his camera again. So take it away.
Hey, it wouldn't be a night without somebody having technical difficulties.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I can hear Elliott as a shadow, apparently.
Okay. Well, that's better than it was before, right?
Can you hear him at all?
He's a little dampened, should I say, on the old mic there. But it's amazing because we've went forever, and he's been the loudest, and I have to turn him down like during the show. And now all of a sudden, Elliott, we can't hear him anymore. It's like I don't know, man. If it can go wrong, it's gone wrong with us typically. I'm about to go back to Be Live, Pete. That's saying a lot,
and
man.
You should call in. You could just have him. You could hook him directly into the board.
Yeah. I know I criticize that automated system now, but it's sounding pretty good these days. So,
hey, has our buddy called and left us a voicemail anytime recently?
You know what? While we're on here, if we've got time and I remember, we're not caught up in the middle of a deep discussion. I'm going to check the old Google voicemail and see if Bud has called in lately.
Brilliant. Well, obviously there's a lot to talk about when it comes to football because this past week in the National Football League has been insane. And particularly nuts if you're a Bears fan. But we're going to save that, and we're going to get to that in a little bit because
Jesus Christ,
did he just jump off? We are off to a rocking start tonight, folks. I tell you, Ron, can you at least bring up your own face? I'm tired of looking.
I'm going to. I've got to switch it up, but sure. I mean, you know what? We'll do until I see him.
And I'm sure that anybody who's watching this right now is tired of looking at me.
I mean. If I see him return, I'll flip back there. But if you guys want to know what Elliott looks like at the moment, I'm going to go ahead and share This is what Pete and I have on Elliott right now. I think we've kept him like this before, but okay. Well, we know how this goes.
Yeah. I bet he's done. I bet he's throwing up his hands and he's going back downstairs.
We've done that before.
Yeah. Anyway, so Ron, I mean, really, the two big things in baseball, and this is kind of a baseball podcast, so I suppose we should talk about it. What do you want? About what's behind door number 1 or what's behind door number 2?
Well, since January's been going so great, you called it at the beginning. It's a bunch of shit, so let's go door number 2.
Okay. Well, then door number 2, we're going to talk about the one thing that's been consistent in the now 6 years that we've been doing this. It happens every January, and I think that we care about it less and less each year. The results of the Hall of Fame voting came out the other day, and it popped up on my phone. I saw it about 2 hours after it was announced, and I saw David Ortiz is going into the Hall of Fame. Oh, okay. That's interesting. Moving on. That was my reaction to it.
I'm like that every year, man.
I care less and less every year. I can't get worked up about it at all.
For entertainment
I don't understand
purposes,
why people are so excited about the current eligible players in baseball for the Hall of Fame. Just don't excite me.
I've never have been too passionate about who gets in, who doesn't, who gets in unanimously. There's always some jackass writer out there that just won't vote for somebody, even a Ken Griffey Jr. because they wanted to use the 10 votes because they were sure he was going to get in. So why waste a vote on him when he's already getting no Elliott? No, you heard that, didn't you?
Yep.
I mean, even the computer intro for him is just it's loud. Here, okay, so he's on Rendezvous and
let's see if we can hear him.
You can't yet because I haven't brought him in yet. So give me a second. We'll bring him in for the third time. And can we hear him?
I want him to rant.
There he is.
Well,
Elliott,
how we doing?
Hey!
Oh, do we have him?
I think you got me.
Okay, I think we've got pretty decent audio of you too. That's good. All right, I'll work on this in the background. This is never fun, but Pete, let me finish my thought on just Hall of Fame. Like I've never been one to get too bent out of shape over it. There's always a writer or two. There's always guys that go rogue. They like to post their ballots, and they like to post their ballot for one reason. They're never going to admit it. They want the attention. They want the debate. They want people taking shots at them. They want people retweeting something with their handle on it so they can get some more attention, maybe a few more followers. Even if it's followers for people that give them shit and a hard time, it's a follower nonetheless, right? Like no publicity is bad publicity sometimes in the mind of anybody in journalism or media. So it's going to be there. I just don't get bent out of shape over it. Guys put their ballot out there. Maybe some of them had genuine reasons for doing it, but I believe most of them just want attention for doing it, and that's whatever. I just don't care about the Hall of Fame that much. You know what? And I never did before it became so controversial either. It doesn't matter to me so much. That player's career is over. I'll remember it just fine, right? Especially if it's one of my own. I'm never going to forget them. I don't need a Hall of Fame. I don't need a plaque. I don't need any of that stuff. I mean, I've got baseball cards. I've got memories. I don't need a Hall of Fame to legitimize anything that I remember and I love about the game. Now, I will say that it is kind of an odd feeling to look now and see that Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds have fallen off the ballot. And I know we've had opinions on this. Sometimes they vary. As we get more distance away from when those guys played and when the controversies happened and, when they were accused or when they, denied, like we've had so much distance beyond that now. It really is silly that we have players that were huge forces within the game when they played. I mean, they really will. And they got bigger. Yeah, of course. But, I don't so much care about the steroid era anymore. And I really don't, because I don't know that we really ever know who did, who didn't, who's still doing things, who's still screwing around with it. I think my old co-host on Two Birds on a Bat, Ruffled Feathers, mentioned out on Twitter, and he's still on there every once in a while, that look, this stuff was going on way before the steroid era. There are always things going on. So I don't know how far back people want to go and how indignant writers want to act about guys who deny it or have been accused or just admitted, they're never. I don't get it. It is weird that a player like Bonds is just not going to be in the Hall of Fame until another committee lets him in. It's just kind of stupid So therefore, it's kind of stripped. If it had any value with me at all, it's all but kind of. I think it's all kind of crumbled in my mind. I just don't care. I don't care.
What about you, Elliott? Where are you on the Baseball Hall of Fame? I mean, obviously we introduced you while you were coming back on, but Ron and I are both on the same page. We just don't care anymore.
You're on mute, buddy.
Mute yourself?
Yeah, I did because I was still screwing with shit. No, I feel like this older generation that's still, dictating, what rules of baseball should be followed and who should and shouldn't get in. It's just that they're stuck in their ways and they're never going to change, and it's going to be a part of baseball that isn't going to be able to progress until they leave or until baseball decides to expand who votes for Hall of Fame, like players. So I don't know. I think it's just disappointing. I mean, I know there's a lot of controversy around the guys who did steroids, but baseball allowed it. So, they turned a blind eye because, at the time baseball was struggling, and now they're kind of like, you know what? They should allow these guys just as much, gratitude to voting for them for the Hall of Fame as, these guys who, said, hey, let them do whatever they want. They're making baseball popular again.
Yeah, sure. I hear your argument, Elliott, and I've seen it and I've heard it everywhere. I just find it unconvincing. I mean, whether or not baseball looked the other way, that doesn't make it right. Just because you don't get pulled over for driving 100 miles an hour on the interstate doesn't mean you're not breaking the law. Just means
that's true. But the difference is the cops. That would be like the cops knowing I was going 100 miles an hour and just saying, you know what, whatever.
Yeah, but sometimes they do.
No, that's probably true.
They have bigger fish to fry, and I think that you are absolutely right. I cannot argue with you at all. Baseball knew it, and they made a choice, right? Bud Selig 100% made a choice on whether or not he was going to enforce, and I think that decision damaged baseball in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and it sucks for guys like Barry Bonds too, who, I mean, muscles is one thing, but the guy had talent. I mean, it's tough.
It's not about muscles; it's about recovery. I mean, ultimately, that's what you hear again and again from guys who use steroids. They're not using it to get bigger; they're using it to be able to recover. And so, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens are able to have longer careers and make much larger numbers than were ever imagined possible, partly because they stopped getting injured, or when they did get injured, they weren't out as long because they were able to recover faster. I mean, that's as much of a cheat as whatever benefit they may have derived physically.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say I'm an expert on what steroids is going to do for you, but just from 30,000 feet up, that's just kind of where I stand on it. I mean, it sucks for these guys.
Steroids will do for you. We've seen Barry Bonds' head when he was playing with the Pirates.
Oh yeah,
and when he retired with the Giants. We know what steroids will do for you.
I want to say hi to my friend Scott, old Marine Corps buddy who's out there watching us. He tuned in last week, or was going to tune in last week. He's a little disappointed we weren't going to have a show. We didn't have one over the weekend either. But Scott, glad you're the guy tuning in there on YouTube, I think. But look, I'm glad we started in the baseball talk with the Hall of Fame because it's such a glorious and gleamingly positive talk, especially on this show. It's just a terrible topic. So Pete, we've already wasted enough minutes on this. We're on a time limit tonight. We're only going to go maybe 50 minutes or whatever. Pete's got to exit. So I don't want to waste any more time talking about this. Can we collectively say just like 1, 2, 3? We don't give a shit. I mean, we just don't. Yeah, okay. So okay.
Okay. Yeah, but hey, let's look at a slightly brighter note. Actually, there are two brighter notes that we really could touch on. There seems to be some momentum with negotiations. I don't think that we're going to get spring training on time, but they seem to be moving towards each other. At least according to the reporting, there are new proposals being put on the table. There are previous things that they had wanted negotiated that are being withdrawn. So, every little step gets you that much closer to an agreement. Maybe we can have baseball start on time.
Yeah, the big core issues, I think, it's going to take a little bit more time for some of those. They've kind of tabled some of those. Now they're talking about some of the smaller things, but still things that matter. And I think that any progress they can make, even on the things that are kind of on the periphery or on the outside, or should, I don't know, I'm speculating purely, but if they can agree on a lot of little things at the end of the day aren't really going to move the needle that much, I think it just helps their chances of coming together on a deal ultimately, right? And that's all any of us want anyway. So, not a ton of news but at least they've met 2 days in a row. That was the most positive sign I've taken away from the whole thing. They at least sat down and met 2 days in a row. So I'll take it. So I got to assume progress is going to be made, and it has to be made by 2/12, or otherwise I've got to delete my Twitter account like I committed to. Which I'm not really that torn up at doing, by the way. Just
I'm suddenly rooting for Ian Happ to blow everything up.
Yeah, well, could happen. We have a guest on with us briefly. I know that I don't know how much he's been following the CBA or anything else. I don't even know if he has an opinion on the Hall of Fame, but that door is already shut. I don't want to talk about the Hall of Fame, Braden, if that was on your mind. We're on baseball right now. We'll quickly get to football. And I wanted him on tonight because his Packers, they had a tough weekend. And so
tough start to the week too.
Yeah, I want him to get to that. So if we want any more baseball news, let's just polish it off right now, because football is probably and football in my mind has earned a lion's share of the show for about the first time ever this week.
Okay, so then let's polish baseball off, and I don't really even think there's much to weigh in on. Although Elliott, you're probably the most qualified to, but word is Apple wants to get in on the business of baseball.
Yeah,
and that I think
that
arguably
would be great.
The most positive development for fans would be if Apple can negotiate an agreement.
Yeah, and I when Ron sent it over, I hadn't heard anything about it. I haven't been quite keeping up with the streaming stuff lately, except for, my little world of it that affects me. But I read a little article that said that they're going to get in for like the Wednesday. I don't know if I read that correctly, but I don't think it's for the entire Monday through Friday games that they're going to do. It's going to be kind of like something like what ESPN does, where they get a couple days a week where they'll have featured games that'll show it, which will be great as long as they don't black it out in market. That is the key. You black it out in market, then you alienate those people who subscribe to that service or who are streaming people, because that's the big thing. If you are a streamer, which it is getting bigger and bigger every single year, you're going to start alienating your fans. And I know Ron's affected by this massively.
Yeah.
So,
I live in one of those areas, and I think people that live in and I complain about it, but imagine living in somewhere like Iowa, where you're blocked out of like Twins, Cubs, White Sox, like all of them, and St. Louis.
St. Louis, yeah.
There's weird spots around the country that have it way worse, and it's just completely ridiculous. So I won't go off on that tangent tonight, because I've done that enough. But I think, Elliott, this is one of the things that ESPN has dropped, like 60 some plus games, maybe it's 80 games or something like that, they normally show throughout the season. I think they're still keeping Sunday night baseball. I don't know why they bother anymore. They've given up on that
Sunday
sport.
night and Wednesday night baseball they're keeping.
Yeah, but I mean, they've essentially given up on that sport. I think they're going to carry maybe a divisional round or something too. But look, ESPN's been out of spotlighting and highlighting baseball for quite some time now. I don't go there for baseball coverage. I don't go there for baseball news. In fact, most of us get annoyed when it's they move a Sunday afternoon game to a late 8:00 game on ESPN on Sunday night. Nobody wants to watch it anyway. So I'm kind of glad that they're backing out of it. They've put their cards down on other sports. That's what they're gambling on. So and they're gambling on the opinion game. And I don't go to ESPN for much anymore. I have the app on my phone purely just to look up a score every once in a while, because they have all the scores kind of aggregated in one spot, and that's about all that's good for me anymore. Once Levitard left the network, I don't even listen to it anymore. And there's personalities on there I still like. Tim Kirkagen is a guy you can't hate. He's a nice guy, but once Levitard left the network,
he'll be gone soon.
Probably.
Kirkagen will be gone.
Yeah, right? As long as he doesn't piss Seelig off. But there's always a home with the Athletic for him.
And I tell you what, guys, I think that Apple TV negotiating a direct deal with baseball is just a foot in the door.
Yeah.
It's basically proof of concept. And once they show that it can happen, I think it's going to make it a heck of a lot easier for baseball to negotiate with the marquees and all of the other regional groups to be able to put their apps on and to be able to stream. And there's not going to be blackouts or anything. It's just going to be, you pay X amount a month. And we're
and it probably shows up on their Apple.
Apple.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's going to be an amount on top of what you would have to pay for Apple Plus anyway, or if it's I don't know how it's going to work itself out.
So.
I'm sure. Okay.
I think it'll be part of Apple TV Plus.
I do too. I'd imagine it's going to be like what Amazon did with the NFL for Thursday Night Football. I mean, Amazon slapped $1 billion for those Thursday night games, and I can't imagine this is going to be quite that much.
But you got to be a Prime member for that too, right?
Yes, you have to have Prime.
What a brilliant thing! You know how many people I know that still aren't Prime members? It's just crazy. Like, what?
It's nuts.
You're not a Prime member, and I'm like, why? Look, I haven't. I think Amazon's a little bit behind some of these other guys as far as just content that they provide. But not only have they paid, they bringing in the NFL. And I don't know what year that starts, but is it start next year? We don't have
the Amazon.
Have they really?
Yeah, they've had it been going for 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, see, I you know how I am with football, man. Even if the Bears are playing on Thursday, I'm usually like check the score first quarter. They're already down 3-0 like the Orioles, so I'm not tuning in. But really a good move on their part, right? I mean, if you bring in football, you bring in something else, and they're putting out what's going to be the most expensive television show ever produced or made, and that's going to be Lord of the Rings.
It's terrible.
It might be terrible. The teaser trailer wasn't very impressive. But what a way to get new subscribers in if that's the way you want to do it, man. You put content like that out, you're going to get a few more Prime. They'll probably pay that $1 billion off just in new subscriptions, I would guess. But Apple TV, the only snag I see here, guys, is guys like my dad's age, who imagine you're in your 60s and you always went to one place for everything. That cable box that sat there, your television set to channel 3, your cable box is the one go-to thing where everything's on it. You might get a little bit pissed off because it's not on the menu, but your TV guide was there to at least help you out. And imagine being an aging person right now where you can't find shit, and all of a sudden baseball is on Apple Plus.
That's what Apple's trying to do with their TV, right? Like they're slowly iterating that box to where ultimately that's their goal. They want to replace that cable box with their box.
Pete, do you know how many stubborn people?
It's not even a box anymore, though. It's an app.
Right.
Because I have it on my Sony TV. Yep. I don't have to buy that Apple TV box anymore. They have learned that with streaming TV, it's not about the proprietary device. It's about having the availability and being able to put it on all devices and having the content. Right. And hopefully this is a start.
And also, and this is what they're doing better than I think anybody else that I've seen. Their app, as long as you're willing to work with them, their app works with your app. And so you can go into the Apple TV Plus app and it's going to aggregate your content. So when I'm sitting here, it's telling me where I left off on Amazon, where I left off on HBO Max, where I left off on a movie that I own, where I left off on an Apple TV Plus program. Like, it's all right. And it also pops up and it says, hey, the Bulls are starting in 30 minutes, or the Blackhawks game is close with 1 minute left. Hit this button and switch right over.
Yeah, it really is amazing how many people, and it's so, like the whole Android iPhone thing, right? Elliott, I know we gave you shit for that for like a year because you never should have had it.
Yes, you did.
I'm starting to feel the same way about stubborn bastards and their Rokus, because I guarantee you most of these, and I don't know if is that Braden that just pinged me. I got to let him on here in a second, but listen, those who have not tried an Apple TV are just like reluctant and stubborn to do so. Because I guarantee you, if I gave them that box for a month, they're not going to the Roku anymore.
Yeah, my dad has a Roku and an Apple TV, and I never see him use the Roku anymore.
Yeah,
I gave him the box.
I'll be honest, I don't know what the difference is.
Huh?
Hey, before we jump in, real quick, guys, I got to tell you something, man.
Yeah.
Before we jump into football talk, I think this is perfect transition for it. The other day, I was searching around and I found a new app or a new podcast. It's called We Got Balls, and it's kind of like us. These guys are set up in the Northeast, or in Boston and I think Toronto, and it's like us, except if we were a little bit more prepared. Like I can clearly tell from listening to it that they have a show map and like they actually discuss what it is that they're going to do. But I'm telling you, and not just you two, but also anybody who's watching us. I mean, if you like this show, God, why do you like this show? But if you like the show, I think you're going to enjoy them. They are all over the place when it comes to sports and pop culture. They're not like one stream like we normally are. They recently had one where they got a guy on to talk about cricket. So I definitely would recommend if you're looking for a new podcast to add to your role, and you're looking for more sports and pop culture, definitely check out We Got Balls. And they're everywhere that you're looking for podcasts, Spotify, iTunes.
I love the name, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Perfect name for
It
a
is.
sports podcast, right? We Got Balls, much better than Team of Rivals.
That we have to explain.
They're like the Team of Rivals prime, right? Like it evolved into this is what we should be if we prepare.
And I don't know if I should admire these guys for the name or hate them because that should have been ours. Once we kind of changed our format, we decided to go ahead and get out of the Midwest. We really should have adjusted, but we didn't. That's fine. Hold on,
listen, football, because I know that's why Braden wants to get on here. What do we want to drag it out, or we want to just start ripping on Braden right away?
I'm getting shit for talking about my dad since he's on the feed about, he's in his 60s now trying to figure out where the hell do I go to watch stuff. And I'm going to get in trouble for doing it, but sorry, Dad.
He's looking for the thumbs down. He's like, "Where's all I see is the thumbs up." No, just click that.
He's probably going on iTunes right now and giving us that 1-star rating. Yeah.
Mike hit the
every time I come,
and it looks like it's a thumbs up, but no, really, it's a thumbs down.
Yeah. Go ahead, Braden. You were gonna speak. We've shut
every time I come to Canton, Moss says every time I leave and he goes to watch the TV, he's like, "This TV ain't working. What the hell them damn kids do?" And she's like, "Jesus, Mike, all you have to do is switch the goddamn HDMI."
Yeah, I tell you what, my dad paid for HG channels for probably a decade, and every time I would go home, he's watching the goddamn standard definition channel. I don't think they're available anymore, but for years I'd go there, and like he's watching like the inner like 60% of the picture, and you couldn't see like the score if you'd be watching a ball game, and I'd take the remote from him, God damn it, and I'd go to like the 9,000s, like, Dad, it's right here.
My dad does the same thing. What is it with being in your 70s?
Okay, so my dad used to do the same thing until I forced him to get a 4K TV, and then he's like, "Oh God, look at the difference."
Oh shit!
That's right.
You know what you got to do? You got to go into their program guide on their dish, and you got to
hide them,
the SD channel, so they can't even find them.
Yeah.
Well, I've got him on YouTube TV now, so he has no choice but to go to
you have no choice
the high definition stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk a little football, and really, I mean, he's on the line.
Yeah, let him take it away.
Braden, is this the worst week in your short Packers history? I mean, first you get bounced from the playoffs, then your offensive coordinator gets hired to be the head coach out in Denver, and now there are rumors that Aaron Rodgers might follow him. I mean, are you going to be okay
and Devontae Adams?
Yeah, are you going to be okay if your team is worse than the Lions next year?
All right, here he goes.
First of all, I mean, this is the 5th time I've been through this, so it's not really a new feeling. It's kind of like a January tradition now at this point. That's why January is one of the reasons why it's easily the worst month of the year. I mean, first things first, the Packers beat themselves on Saturday. They absolutely deserve to lose. I mean, the thing that makes me most mad is people blaming this game mostly on special teams, and that's just flat out wrong. I mean, when you have Aaron Rodgers, I don't really give a hell who's on offense. I don't really care who's blocking for you. When you're playing Jimmy Garoppolo on the other side of the ball, you got to score more than 13 points. The 49ers offense was absolutely abysmal. Jimmy Garoppolo was absolutely terrible, and our defense played absolutely amazing. Best game of the year. But ultimately, the way our defense works, and 80% of the other defenses, maybe even more in the entire league, is they give your offense the ball, they don't really score your points. So when you get as many chances as you do, and you don't score and you keep punting and punting the ball, the more nervous you get, you're going to end up losing. Special teams has always been terrible. It's been terrible all year, for years now, and the offense has always been able to pick up the slack. So if you know how bad your special teams is, you probably shouldn't put it in their hands at the end of the game. I'm not sure if Tom Brady would have won that game because obviously he is more of a field general and a leader and a motivator. And talent doesn't always relate to winning, and that's been proved with Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady. I understand the offensive coordinator went to Denver. Not sure how much that really is significant. The offensive coordinator is usually up in a booth, not really on the field. I don't know how much of a relationship him and Rodgers actually had. So I don't.
Your quarterback, he's just become weird over the last year, even more weird than he was before. I mean, there's something.
Yeah, well,
he's off.
I understand. I don't disagree, but I don't really think it has anything to do with anything.
Like you know what? You know what Rodgers has done. You know who he parallels in my mind, guys. Like as far as just gone from likable to normal to weird. He reminds me of Joe Madden. Like now he's just gone weird and spiritual, and he's going to end up playing a fourth quarter with no shoes on at some point. He's going to walk out there barefoot, and he's going to play a quarter.
Well, listen, I'm going to piss in Braden's cornflakes a little bit here and remind him that there was talk last year when Rodgers was unhappy that the Broncos were a possible landing spot for him. And also last year when Aaron Rodgers was asked about Nathaniel Hackett, his response was, I hope he doesn't go anywhere unless I do. So let's not completely write off the possibility that Aaron Rodgers may be heading out west and could be taking Devontae Adams with him.
Denver's always been a landing spot, but I don't think the offensive coordinator becoming the coach is going to be the biggest thing. I think the biggest appeal when it comes to Denver is obviously Patrick Surtain, Jared Judy, Noah Fant, Javonte Williams. There's a lot of young pieces in that team, in that offense. Aaron Rodgers, especially with Devontae Adams, have to play with. Denver has a great roster. They just always lacked a quarterback.
He's speaking Latin to me. I have no idea. Like he knows so much more about football than I do.
What he's doing is he's basically making the exact case for why Aaron Rodgers should go to Denver.
Yeah. Well, look, at some point in time, it sucks. At some point in time, like you were a Colts fan, you had to see Peyton Manning in a Denver uniform. You're a Patriots fan. All of a sudden, you're looking up and seeing, 55-year-old Tom Brady still dropping back for passes in a Buccaneers uniform. It's always odd seeing a legacy player like that all of a sudden, like Brett Favre in a Vikings.
I was going to say, this shouldn't be new for Packers fans.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right, Elliott. That's going to be the real adjustment, right? It's seeing Brett Favre leave, but then you had a nice soft landing with Aaron Rodgers.
Exactly.
And Ron, you mentioned it with Peyton Manning. At the time, they had a nice soft landing with Andrew Luck. Nobody knew that he was going to retire so young because of injuries.
Right.
Jordan Love.
From what we've seen,
he's not going to be a soft landing.
That's what's interesting about the Packers, and this is what I think a lot of people are overlooking, is, okay, is Jordan Love the answer? I personally don't think so. I don't really see a lot of potential in him. I just look at him, and he doesn't seem like a starter and a quarterback. But the thing I think that a lot of people are overlooking is, listen, if the Packers do trade Adams and Rodgers, they can franchise tag Adams and package them. I mean, you're looking at an absolutely huge haul, maybe 5 first-round picks combined for the two of them, and maybe even more with some young core players. And so I think when it comes to the Packers with the coaching staff, with Matt LaFleur, with Jair Alexander, Rashad Gary, A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones, Josh Myers, Bakhtiari Jenkins. There's a lot of very good pieces still on the Packers without them. So if you can get 5 first-round picks and players or a huge haul, I don't necessarily think the Packers will go into a full tank rebuild. I think it'll be a retool where,
well, I don't know. You got to talk to that ownership group. And if you want to be complaining to anybody right now, bud, you need to be complaining to yourself. Braden is a shareholder of the Green Bay Packers. He is an owner of the team. He should be talking to himself in the mirror right now about what you need to do.
And B, to pick a little nit there on something you said, you can't hang a franchise tag on Devontae Adams and then trade him. Players can't be traded when they have a franchise tag. They
That's
have to
right.
be
It's a
player,
two-way
and
street.
typically
Right?
when they're tagged, they're free agents.
You can do it.
Until they
Tag
sign Devontae Adams to a contract, they cannot trade him away. And if I'm Denver, I'm not paying extra to get a guy who's on a contract that I didn't negotiate.
You're not getting. No team is going to leverage their future by trading away 5 first-round draft picks unless you're the Chicago Bears.
You can do.
Hey, speaking of which, Elliott, that is an outstanding transition.
Well, I don't want to transition. I don't want to transition yet, Pete. But I know exactly where you're going to go because what happened is right now Braden doesn't have a lot of faith in who's supposed to be the next Green Bay quarterback, and I get it, right? And that's why you didn't.
Well, he shouldn't.
And you shouldn't be, and that's why it's important to stay protected. And I don't think the Packers did a very good job of that, right? So we all know how important it is to stay protected. Sometimes life throws you a curve, and that's why you need Allstate. The Wiley Group has 2 locations in Festus and Arnold to serve you. They offer home, auto, boat, motorcycle, business, life insurance, investments, and so much more. They can offer a customized approach that is unique to your situation so you, your family, and assets are properly protected. They offer great rates and savings. Give Sean a call today at 636-764-6294. They'll help you get an insurance quote right over the phone. You can even give them a call and talk sports. They do that too. We all have busy lives, so you can email Sean at seanwiley@allstate.com and talk to him about your coverage options. And remember, you're in good hands with Allstate.
That was beautiful, Ron.
Thanks.
Back to Elliott's brilliant transition. So the Bears, they seemingly have a good situation for anybody who's coming in as a head coach and a general manager because you have who looks like a promising quarterback on a rookie contract, and that's what every team wants as the key to their success. The last time we got together, we were all nervous. We didn't know where things were going. Within 72 hours, the Bears replaced Ryan with Ryan, and they replaced Matt with Matt.
Matt with Matt.
That's right. I tell you what, you thought this last weekend was exciting in football. Nothing compares to the Bears and their moves. I mean, they made splash in the NFL. Did they have to do this right now? Did they have not waited just a little bit long? I mean, were these guys so sought after? I mean,
I don't know about Eberflus, but yes, apparently Ryan Poles was the name. He was supposed to be getting on a plane up to Minnesota.
Yep, and that's what they were afraid of.
His second interview there, and they got aggressive.
So they had to jump on the guy that they wanted, right? So okay, so I don't blame them for that.
I will tell you, one positive thing that I saw out of the reporting on Eberflus today is that apparently one half of the interview committee wanted Jim Caldwell. The other half of the interview committee wanted Dan Quinn. And so Pohl said, nope, this is my team. We're hiring Eberflus. So
that's great.
That's actually a good sign.
Yes, yeah, exactly. That's the one positive sign I will take out of this. Yeah. Otherwise, I'm reserving judgment.
Yeah, because you a-holes have done such a good job bringing in coaches and everything else throughout the years. Okay, well, you know what? If he's been handed that much authority, then they're going all in on this GM, and they need to do something. I mean, they got to do something different.
If you think about it, you go back. This is, just right off the bat, this is the most autonomy that I can think that a Bears general manager has had in, my God, I don't know how long.
Probably never.
Yeah, maybe Jerry Angelo, but I don't even know that Jerry Angelo had this.
It's like we were talking about a soft landing that the Packers have experienced, and that the Colts had experienced. The Bears have never even stuck a landing on a quarterback in like 3 decades, Braden. So I don't want to hear it.
Threw themselves into the ground.
That's right. Yeah.
And just when I
got something to say about the Bears head coach.
What's your take on the Bears head coach?
So, NFL podcast I do for fun with 2 other friends of mine. One of them is a Colts fan, and I asked his opinion about the hire. And one thing that I didn't really think about, obviously, because I don't really watch the Colts, and I'm thinking, the Colts defense, seems pretty good. And he's like, well, it starts out great in the first half, and second half of the season it kind of collapsed. Last game of the season, the Colts just got absolutely destroyed by the Jacksonville Jaguars to miss the playoffs. So here's, in which I understand the coach can hire an offensive coordinator, but it's still kind of a concern because if I were the Bears, I would want a more offensive-minded coach. especially when their offense is the most lacking part of the team.
Well, that's been the knee-jerk fan reaction, right, Pete? I mean, if you look at it, like
we just went through an offensive
and this is why he's going to hire an offensive coordinator
right?
to take care of that, because he's a defensive mind.
If they do that,
but he will also have a defensive coordinator.
Yeah, Elliott, if they actually do that, I'll be thrilled, right? But that's been some of the fan reaction too. Like the offense has been a problem, so they didn't bring in an offensive-minded head coach. I know they're supposed to have had one in Nagy, but okay, he was what he was, right? And they were supposed to bring one. You know, that's what I think Bears fans wanted to see, Luke, is this offensive wizard as a head coach, and they weren't going to get that. So they got another defensive guy, and you know they've done pretty well under defensive-minded coaches in the past. You know, but again, you just look at personnel. Like personnel will make or break a head coach for the NFL, and so if he didn't experience a lot of success in Indianapolis over this last year, well, who the hell did he have to work with? I mean, let's be honest about it, right? Like you're only as good as the roster you have. Sure, you can make a bad call. But sure, you can have a bad strategy, but is that really what it is?
Quite honestly, my hope is always that the head coach comes in and he doesn't involve himself with implementing a defense or implementing an offense. He instead worries about building out a good staff and motivating his players, and he just gets the hell out of the way, because that's something that the Bears head coaches, for the most part, have not done.
Yeah.
They have they've gotten into micromanaging, and that's why that's why the Bears have sucked for the last 4 years, is because Matt Nagy thought that he was the best offensive coordinator in football, and he forgot that he's the head coach of the team, and he doesn't need to be calling plays.
Yeah.
He needs to hire an offensive coordinator who knows what the hell he's doing, and he needs to make sure that everybody is focused. And
that's the problem in this league, though, man. As soon as the Bears get a halfway decent defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, shit, they're gone with like in a year. And that's the way
gets poached.
That's the way the league works. I mean, Fangio was the last one that I can remember, the big name that had done well here, and it moved on.
And he wasn't even Nagy's pick, because he came over with John Fox.
It's true. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I was able to listen to the radio a little bit today about Eberflus, and there's connection with him and the quarterback's coach with the Buffalo Bills, who worked with Josh Allen, and we all kind of saw this year where that has led to. So possibility of bringing him in as offensive coordinator, which would be great, because then he could also work with Justin Fields.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that the first question in the interview with your offensive coordinator candidates is, Justin Fields is your quarterback. What are you doing to help him succeed?
I mean, big move by the Bears, big investment to the future. You've got to hear that. You've got to ask that question one. You got to like. And
on 4th and 1, are you going to hand it off to David Montgomery, or are you going to try to pass it?
Right.
Yes.
There's only one correct answer.
I would answer yes. I don't want to talk about the Bears anymore, because probably made half the people that would even bother to listen to this. The penis has already gone soft. They don't want to listen to it anymore. Oh shit! Forgot my son was on the phone. Never mind, Braden. Delete.
His penis was soft too.
Because we were talking about the Bears. But I want to talk about football this last weekend, guys. I got to tell you.
It was nuts.
In a time where, and I mean this, I put it in the description tonight. This last weekend of football, any of those games, any of them, were better than the best baseball game of 2021. Any of them were, all of them. Now I want to read the text that after his, and Sarah and I were in deep conversation. We were talking. I look up all of a sudden, and the 49ers are kicking a game-winning field goal with no time left. And I missed it, and I had to go back like a minute, 40 seconds in the game to figure out what happened. So I told him, like, sorry about your Packers, bud, and type some other things. And he responds, I'll call you tomorrow. I got to focus on not jumping off the roof right now. I had to remind him.
Thank you, Robbie Gold.
Yeah, thank God the Bears cleared him out of the way so they could go into the future. I had to remind Braden, you're in a 1-story house, buddy. You're only going to maim yourself. You got to, so, but that was that. I know he's already. We won't make him rehash the Packers game. That probably ripped his heart out. But if you were a fan of any team that lost this last weekend, you woke up Monday thinking like this couldn't have happened. Like it couldn't have happened, especially if you're a Buffalo Bills fan. Holy shit!
Oh God!
Like 25 points in the last 2 minutes is like arena football type of shit, man. That was not the NFL. Yeah. Where were the defensive coordinators in the last 2 minutes of any game this last weekend? The Rams game, I wanted them to lose so bad, and I can't believe Tampa Bay tied it. I can't believe they came back and even tied it when they did. And the one guy the Rams are going to throw to, the one goddamn guy, like, What happened?
How do you not cover it?
Like here he is just
how
wandering
how
down the
does
field
he
and
get
he's
past the safety?
nobody within 15 yards of him. Like the one guy you know that Stafford's looking for to throw to, and nobody could like how's he alone? Like nobody within a 15-yard radius. And Travis Kelce for the Chiefs. Like no shit. Who's been the go-to guy since Mahomes has even been a
Forever.
thing? Right.
Yeah.
So, like, how is he so wide open? It's just, prevent defenses. If there's ever going to be an evolution in prevent defense, it's got to be going into next year. And this will be a case study. This one weekend for football coaches everywhere will be a case study. How to not. You're trying to prevent disaster, and you opened it up for disaster.
You
It's
prevent
so
from winning is what you do.
Exactly. 13 seconds, guys. Go ahead, Braden. Go ahead. Sorry.
So the thing with the Bucks and Bills game is, the thing I don't understand about the Bucks game is, okay, you want to blitz, fine, but you have to have at least two guys on Cooper Kupp there. I mean, there's absolutely no reason why this should be one-on-one coverage. And the Bills game, well, I don't understand. Okay, first play of the game.
I don't understand anything and what happened in the last 13 seconds of that Bills game. Nothing.
But the Bills game, it starts with the kickoff. There's no reason you shouldn't do
Squib kick it.
You squib kick it, yeah, absolutely. And prevent defense on the first
they
play.
put it in the end zone, right? So it didn't take any time off.
So I guess
Correct.
it makes sense.
Yes.
Second play, the Chiefs only needed, 15, 20 yards? That's all they needed to get in the field goal range. Why are you playing prevent defense when they need 15, 20 yards? They have 3 timeouts, 13 seconds left. You shouldn't be playing prevent. All they need is a field goal. If you cover the sidelines, they're just going to take the middle and score a field goal, and that's exactly what they did. When they tied it overtime, they were blitzing everyone. I understand wanting to blitz, but when you're blitzing everyone and there's 4 people trying to tackle Mahomes, and then they realize, oh shoot, he got the ball out of his hands. Oh no, there's someone 5 yards in front of me who's about to run and catch it for 20 yards.
Travis Kelce, the biggest target that the Chiefs have, wide open.
Maybe realize I shouldn't blitz 8 people 4 plays in a row.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I don't understand either. I think every defensive coordinator this weekend at the very end of the game just like froze like deer in headlights, couldn't figure out what to do. I couldn't stop a guy from throwing a 25, 30-yard pass. It was something incredible. And you can get my wife, who could care less about football, when she's on the edge of her seat too, watching these games, not really caring who wins. When you get people like that are not interested, all of a sudden excited about what's happening in a sport, football's winning over what we follow, guys. And I would watch it. Look, we're probably never going to see a set of 4 games like that ever again. I've
been telling you all these years, football is great. I told you.
Yeah, you were. I mean, I don't think you saw this weekend coming, but we'll probably never see a weekend like this again. It was exciting, and I'm actually looking forward to watching football this weekend. And Pete, how many times you've known me for a long time? How many times have I ever said that?
First time I can recall hearing it.
First time you recall. Fuck the Rams.
But you know what's going to happen this weekend, Ron? We're going to get 2 blowout, boring games. They're going to be done in the first quarter.
Right? Yeah. That's why I don't miss Belichick making it to the Super Bowl, because how many Super Bowls have we seen where it's just an interesting.
And to give him credit, and this is why when he's got the talent, Bill Belichick wins so consistently. He doesn't go on tilt. And that's what we saw. We saw defensive coordinators going on tilt, right?
Yep.
They're like that. They're like that guy you see at the, he's at the blackjack table, he's at the poker table, he's at the slot machine.
Just loses his mind.
Like, no, this time I'm going to hit. This time I'm going to hit. He just keeps putting money in and putting money in and putting money in. And that's what we saw this past weekend was those defensive coordinators. No, this time the blitz is going to get home. This time it's going to get home. And those quarterbacks are just too good. And you gave them too much of an opening because you didn't just play straight up defense, because you were convinced, no, this time I'm good. And that's something that we never see Bill Belichick do. He never goes on tilt.
No,
he doesn't have the personality to.
He would have invented the double tap in Zombieland. It would have been Bill Belichick. Probably the triple tap.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just make sure that nobody's getting back up. But what a weekend and for football. So you know what? Cheers to football. I never say that because I'm like, I go baseball, hockey, NFL. I'm completely the other way around at this point in time. So I'm looking forward to this weekend. Braden, you don't have no more skin in the game, so I don't know. What are your quickly? What are your calls for the two games that we're going to see?
Well, my wish. This is absolute best case scenario for me.
Okay.
Is the Bengals beating the Chiefs, the Rams beating the 49ers. Hear me out.
No.
But then the Bengals absolutely slaughtering the Rams in the Super Bowl.
I don't want to see a Kroenke-owned team playing a Super Bowl in his own stadium, which was his plan.
Well, I don't want to see the 49ers.
I want to see that.
They're the worst NFC
I get it, but at least they beat the Rams. They beat the Rams twice this year. And look, that's no guarantee they can do it again. Like beating an NFL team three times in 1 year is not going to be an easy thing for anybody to do. So I think that's either, I don't know, guys, that Rams 49ers game is either going to be an interesting close one, or it's going to be, Pete, what you just said a second ago, like the most boring playoff game we're going to see this weekend.
Well, I mean, look, the trend's your friend, right? The unless I'm mistaken, the Niners are on, I think it's a 6-game winning streak against the Rams? So they've got their number.
Yeah, the
so
numbers. The number's about up. Yeah,
they'll go in with confidence, and hopefully that confidence will allow them to play a good game against the Rams.
Yep.
So,
look, you shut down
Cooper Kupp,
Green Bay's offense.
Yeah.
You just got. I don't know if you can count on a collapse by the Rams special teams the way that the Packers special teams crapped the bed. So.
Yeah. Those damn
I think we're going
teams.
to get a replay of the Super Bowl. What was it, 3 years ago? I think we're going to see Niners Chiefs again.
In that case, I would have to go Chiefs. I really want to see Buffalo take that game. Not that I have much against the Chiefs. I don't. It's just that I know the Buffalo fans there have the fear of losing their team in a few years too, and I can definitely sympathize with that. Not that I was a Rams fan. I wasn't. But I am a City of St. Louis fan, so I was kind of pulling for those guys. And I like that quarterback of theirs too. Like not the athletic specimen you would think, but athletic, like surprising. Like this guy moves very well and he's fast, and I think he's got a pretty good future ahead of him. But I like that Bills team. I was really hoping they would pull that off, which is why 13 seconds will be burned in my brain forever. Even though I have no skin in the game here, but I really wanted to see them pull it off. But anyway, great weekend for football, man. And I rarely does that. You never hear those words pass my lips, like ever. But looking forward to this weekend. So, and I'm looking forward to Sunday. But you know what thing I don't look forward to before we leave? What's the one thing I hate?
I will be pulling for the Bengals this weekend because I've got a lot.
Bengals or the Bengals? Those are two different things. I like the Bengals too.
Bengals.
You're cheering for Ben and the Gals?
Ben and the Gals. I am cheering for the Bengals.
Okay.
So Houday Nation.
It's Houdat.
Oh, Jesus.
Houdat ain't got a quarterback or a head coach.
Anyway, it's going to be stressful no matter what team you're rooting for this week if you are an actual fan of them. We all know that buying a vehicle can be stressful as well, but it doesn't have to be. Fifth Street Motors, located in Pacific, Missouri, will help you find the vehicle you need no matter what brand. Fifth Street Motors believe in giving you the best price on a pre-owned vehicle that would fit your budget. Give Brandon or Don a call today at 573-259-1306 and tell them Gateway City Sports sent you. Pete, we got to go because you got to go.
Yeah, we got to go. For those of you who are pop culture fans, Star Wars fans, look, it's been 3 weeks since we've talked about the Book of Boba Fett, and
got some catching up to do.
We got a lot to talk about, especially the fact that the episode that apparently every Star Wars fan loves, my son was like, it was okay.
Holy shit. Pete, don't blow past the positive here. We have a friend returning for the show on Sunday.
We do. I wasn't going to blow past that, but you can go ahead and reveal it.
Our good friend Elle is going to join us on Sunday to talk a little Book of Boba because we got some catching up to do on that, and we haven't talked to her for quite a while too. So interested to hear her thoughts on this series. You know, she's a big TV and movie person out there on social media, so look forward to catching up with her.
Absolutely. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe. If you want to help spread the word, please give us a 5-star review and tell your friends to subscribe too. Come on, shout us out. We're available on Rumble, Facebook, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else you may listen to podcasts. Also, be sure to check out the other Gateway City Sports Network podcasts, including the Derek King Sports Show, 2 for 3 with Moose Michaels, Yacker Jacks, XFL, STL, and End the Cards with 8 Train Arlington Lane. You can find Braden at, where's the best place to find you, B?
NFL MVP podcast. That's my NFL podcast where you'll probably find more NFL knowledge than you will here. And STL Cards ran on Instagram. So
that's not saying much. You're right.
No.
That's not saying a whole lot. Yeah.
Damning with faint praise. Send us an email at the show at teamofrivalspodcast.com, and you can find Elliott on Twitter at
TOR_Elliott.
And you can find Ron until February 12th on Twitter at
TOR_Ron75. And if the baseball's not back, you can find me at Team of Rivals Pod on Twitter.
Gentlemen, this has been fun. It's good to be back and see your faces, and I will see you guys again on Sunday. Any last thoughts?
Yes.
What a stupid son of a bitch.
Can't disagree.
Hey, I got today's Wordle on my second guess.
I had that sound bite ready for the Jeff Garcia thing. We didn't get to it. We ran out of time. So
we'll get to it next week.
We'll get to it next week.
All right, let's go, Brandon. I'll see you guys later.
All right, Pete. Thanks for taking us out. Love you all so much. Special episode on Sunday. Don't know if it'll be video or not, but at least be audio. But we'll see you all again next Thursday. Love you all so much. Bye-bye, everyone.